Of course, the more pain we are all experiencing from the high price of gas, the more benefit there is for those who can access electric vehicles.
Republicans seek to take control of the House of Representatives.
Republicans are going to retake both the House and Senate.
A liberal MSNBC host warning Democrats about the potential for a red wave.
Do we have any sort of canary in the coal mine type indications of where we may be headed on that front?
Fox News is calling the Virginia governor's race for Republican Glenn Youngkin.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve...
Hello and welcome to the Ruthless Variety Program. Good Thursday to you all. We've got a big one for you today. An extra interview for you because we got two incredible guests. We've talked a lot about the red wave cometh. Mm-hmm. And part of the reason that you get a red wave, I mean, you've talked about this, Smug, but you got to work hard to do it. You also need quality candidates. We got Zach Nunn in here, who's just Iowa through and through, but he's got an incredible military background, Air Force guy, who knows a thing or two about a thing or two.
Zach Nunn, ladies and gentlemen. How are you?
It's a privilege to be on the variety program, as it were. So, yes. This is going to be the good Heartland episode, I can already tell.
It is. And you are Iowa through and through, my man.
Sixth generation, shearing sheep. I got the scars from the detasseling. It's like, that's how you know you've been in the Midwest.
Yeah. Well, give me how do we detassel? How do we go?
So, yeah, the crazy part of the detasseling piece is it's a way to round up a bunch of 10-year-olds and put them on a school bus, ship them out, and then send them into cornfields and hope they come out on the other side. And you're bending over corn stalks, and you're pulling off the top of them as you go through here. But yeah, it's actually a great experience. It's about 1,000,000 degrees, and you can't see the other side of the field, and bugs everywhere, and all of your friends are somewhere in the same cornfield, and all you can do is just hear their screams. So it's like, all right.
You just got to work your way to the other end.
Exactly. Yep.
That's great. So you're running for Congress.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's Iowa 3, so this is a chance to win back all of Iowa. Iowa is one of these, it's a traditionally purple state, and that's what I love about our community. You've got Republicans, Democrats, Independents, all very pragmatic, farm-type family people who are saying, we just want solutions. But this third district is new. It was designed by an independent commission in Iowa, so we have arguably one of the fairest redistricting processes in the world. I think even the Economist said that. So
that's amazing.
Salute to our UK brothers there.
Generally speaking, independent commissions are not so independent. So
this
is something else.
Yeah. Half Democrats, half Republicans, and then the state legislature gets to vote on it. In this district, it is a district that has a kind of a reflection of the United States. It's Des Moines, which is the largest city in Iowa. Just about half the population is there or around the immediate area, and then a lot of rural Main Street communities. And we're not talking small towns. We're talking these are Main Street, the Wintersets of the world, the Ottumwas of the world, Red Oaks, where Senator Joni Ernst is from. Yeah. It's the kind of place where not only do you walk around the town square, but you send your kids to school here, you grow up here, you go to 4-H here, and you come back there for Thanksgiving. So these are thriving little communities, but they're spread out across southern Iowa. And within that area, we have seen Donald Trump has won it. Democrats have won it at the local level. And it's been a battleground state,
totally.
Particularly this district. It's gone back and forth.
Although I feel like we're heading in the right direction, don't you?
I do. I'm a military guy, so 4 months on the battlefield, that's a long time. That's an Air Force deployment, if you will.
Right.
4 months in politics can be forever, and we're not taking anything for granted here. Governor Terry Branstad, Ambassador Branstad, longest serving governor in U.S. history, always says, run like you're 10 points down, and then hopefully on election day you cross the finish line. Yeah,
well, that's good advice. And you've had a lot of good leadership on the Republican side in Iowa over the years. I mean, it is, at this point, we went out there last year to the State Fair. Man, it was so interesting to see the development of a bench in Iowa over the last 6-8 years, where you've got talented folks like yourself ready, waiting, and willing to go and serve. And that's the best way to success in this game.
I think the Republican Party has worked really hard at this, but it's also just a reflection of, that Midwest community, right? We've got a lot of military guys who are serving. You've got Senator Joni Ernst, first combat female veteran in in the U.S. Senate. We've got Ashley Hinson up to the north, Miller Meeks to our east, and Randy Feenstra in the west. So we've got a good delegation. The challenge is these are also, I mean, they're pragmatic leaders who have voted on issues both sides. And then we've got this one Democrat who votes 100% of the time with Nancy Pelosi and goes completely West Coast on us.
Hey, this is Cindy Axne we're talking about here.
That's right, yeah. So she's been in there twice. She's never won by more than 50%. It's one of these districts that I think she won her first time by 49%, her second time by 48%, 6,000 votes. I got more votes in my state Senate race ahead of her in the same district than she won an overall congressional race by.
Well, that's a good sign.
It's encouraging, right?
Yeah.
So we are looking forward to fighting hard. Most importantly, though, we're doing this because we feel very strongly that our community deserves a voice in this. All 21 counties, not just the one county that she's won, but all 21 deserve a voice in Washington, D.C. And most importantly, I think what we've done well in Iowa has been to listen to people, cut taxes, put money in Iowans' pockets, they spend it in their community. Support the police, don't defund the police. Get kids back in school, we were the first state to do it. This seems to work,
Seems
right?
pretty simple, right?
Let's take what works in the Midwest to the D.C. Beltway.
No kidding. No kidding. Well, you got your work cut out for you on that, but let's start at the beginning here. You're an Air Force guy.
Yes, sir. So started off in the indentured servitude of Chuck Grassley, like everybody in Iowa, I think, at one point. Working in the back office, opening letters. Loved Chuck. And then went on to serve in the U.S. Air Force. Joined up in 2003, post 9/11. 9/11 happened, as I was in school. Saw the towers come down and immediately felt like we had a compelling desire to follow like my grandfathers before me and my father in the Air Force. So we joined up, became part of an airborne recon squadron. It's basically if you've seen Top Gun, you know how the music starts, and you've got these cool fighter pilots. The Air Force recon program is exactly the same, except take out the fighter jet and put in a giant school bus flying in the sky and play the entire Top Gun soundtrack
I was just
in slow-mo.
Can you still get Kenny Loggins?
I know, right? Exactly.
That's the key.
We would play it every time we would take off. Highway to the danger zone, taking
You just
off.
have to
Exactly.
flip like 7 switches and then throw Loggins on, and you're right there.
Yeah, exactly.
School bus or nothing.
Yeah,
I love that.
absolutely.
So, you were in Afghanistan and Iraq, right?
Yeah, we did multiple tours in both. And as a young lieutenant getting to fly, huge opportunity. But we were on the back with a group of enlisted guys, and these guys had what we call cans on their head, headphones, and they're interpreting real time Pashto, Farsi, Tijak, and they're trying to put it all together. And our job was to be able to geolocate who the command and control nodes were. The guys talking on the radios on what we call a push to talk, trying to identify who's vectoring fire in. I mean, it was one of our first missions out. We were supporting a special operations team. They came under immense fire in the Punjab Valley. About 2,000 Talibans came out of the hill, firing down on these guys, and we were the only aircraft in the area. And God bless these young men and women Americans in the back of this aircraft at 20,000 feet, trying to identify who were the strike nodes, who were the guys calling in the firing commands on the Afghan side. And it pains me to say, but as an Air Force guy, we had to call in the Navy for strikes. And so we had some F-18s show up. But we stayed on mission for, going on 20 hours, 3 air refuelings. And we were the only thing providing basically a canopy of freedom for these guys trapped in the valley. And we were able to take them out.
Experience.
It was intense. It was very intense. And you hear the guys on the ground. We heard our Afghan interpreter screaming out, danger, close fire. We heard the JTAC, who's the guy who's helping vector things in. But there were also innocent Afghanis in the area too. So not everybody who's talking on a radio, it's their version of the party line. Everybody's on these things is a bad guy. So you got to figure out who's the kid with a bunch of goats herding, and then who's the mullah out there who's directing people to lay down fire on Americans.
Jeez. The complexity of war, man. That is just unbelievable.
Good news is every American made it home that night, and we were able to get back into the area and help all those people the following week. So it was a great mission. I wish they were all that good.
No kidding. Right? No kidding. How long were you in theater?
So let's see here. Of my 4 years, I was officially stationed in the United Kingdom. So I started night class there, and I did 3 years basically back and forth between Afghanistan, Iraq. We would base out of Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar for the long hauls for the aircraft. And then continued my career on. Left active duty, switched over to the reserves, joined the intelligence community for a decade. Spent time, in China doing counterintelligence, worked the Russia desk.
This is a guy we need in Congress.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, boy, that's quite a resume right there. That's incredible. Well, so out of all of that, I got to imagine that shapes your perspective in a pretty serious way. And we ask everybody who comes in here who served in our armed forces and is now running for Congress, was the Afghan situation, was the pullout, the Biden absolute catastrophe sort of instrumental in your decision to run?
Pivotal, I would say.
Yeah.
So flash forward from that scene we just had in 2005 in Afghanistan to basically a year ago next month, the fall of Afghanistan, and leave behind the disaster of Bagram Air Base and the billions of dollars thrown over. There were Americans and there were our interpreters who were left behind. The flag came down and they had no way to get to the airport. And so a colleague of mine, Jesse Jensen, who's actually running now out west, and a number of veterans got together and formed this group called Task Force Argo. That night, we were trying to get people through Abbey Gate, and sadly 13 Americans died. Men and women, Marines, Navy corpsmen. One of them from my district in Red Oak gave his life because no one in the administration came up with an evacuation plan that would work. And so we talked to some folks who were trapped there, and we shuttled them. This is after the U.S. had pulled out. We shuttled them north to Mazar Sharif, which was one of the last free airports left in Afghanistan. We worked with a group called CAM Air, which is the Afghan National Airlines. They had not been subsumed into the Taliban yet, and raised money across America to be able to fly out 2,500 plus Americans and Afghan nationals who had served with us, who had been approved to come to the United States but had been abandoned in Kabul when the U.S. pulled out. And so we had literally U.S. citizens that had no escape route out of Afghanistan.
You were their only
that we were flying out as volunteers. It wasn't even, we were calling State Department and saying, I remember being on the desk with the NMC, the National Military Command Center, and trying to get State Department to help validate this. And they're like, you can't fly out of the country. We're not giving you clearance over Iran. There's no way out. Like, well, thanks, friend.
Yeah.
Plane's in the air. We're going to land at Al Udeid.
Yeah, we're going to figure it out.
I literally have, exactly. We've literally got the control tower on the phone. These aircraft are landing. We vetted them all before they got on the aircraft. When they were met there, they were met by, God bless the Department of Defense. They were there. They were vetting them. They were checking them. No one who was not supposed to be on the aircraft was. And I'm very happy to say, the interpreter who did 9 combat tours with us is a U.S. citizen. He lives in my community now. His brother,
that right?
We got him out. He fought with the Americans. He and his kids there, and they're some of the best Americans you're ever going to meet.
That is just an awesome story.
So I think, number one is obviously congressional investigations. We still haven't had on, this whole withdrawal. But then I think, the number one thing I'd want to see after that is a movie about
this
people,
kind of thing.
Right, who went back in to get interpreters out. American
you want to say to the
citizens out.
State Department that you're on the horn with, like, I wouldn't be here if you did your job, folks.
Absolutely right. And individually, I will say this is a great reflection. There are some truly patriotic Americans in our U.S. government on our veteran side, but this is a dark chapter for America.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, we had the opportunity to move forward with honor, and we chose dishonor.
100%. Couldn't be more well said. So this happens. Obviously, it shapes your perspective quite a bit, and you decide it's your time to run for Congress.
Yes, sir.
I assume you consult with your family and your kids and everybody else about what that means, right?
Yeah, no. So, like, my wife and I, we knew each other in high school. We met on the gridiron out there on a Friday night.
Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
You were playing football?
I was in the marching band. So, all I'm saying is that we were on the football field on a Friday night on the gridiron.
I set you up on that, Zach.
Yeah, so I was in the marching band. She was far more attractive than me, and so I decided, I'm gonna ask this lady out. Nice, blonde, beautiful woman. It just took me 16 years to get up the courage. And
you finally shot your shot.
I said, hey, let's do this. Let's hang out. Let's hang out. And she said, yeah, she was a single mom, so she had 2 great little kids, and I was still stationed in D.C. working in the intelligence community. Brought her out to live in D.C. and immediately was like, yeah, this is a horrible idea. This is absolutely not where you want to raise 2 kids.
We're going back.
We're going back to our hometown. So we moved back to our hometown, and we've been there ever since. We love it.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, you always had a little bit of a taste for politics, as evidenced by being Grassley's mailroom, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you ever think you'd run for something, or is this like something that you just felt compelled to do?
Yeah, I think it was much more compelled to do. I was always like very impressed with guys like Chuck Grassley, but you see the stamina that it takes to be out there and be on a staff, and I was much more of the military mindset. I want to go out there and accomplish things. I want to drive a mission. I want to see an objective. Politics seemed like the opposite of all that. But it did foster us. We ran our first race against the guy that owned, the country club in town. It was a Democrat in a Democratic district. And it was like, hey, Zach, you're kind of a dumbass. What is going on? Why are you running?
Did they nix you from the country club list?
Yeah, I know. That was the hard part. It was like, hey, you're a Republican and you were not allowed in the country club. It's a tough walk in life. Luckily, I had all my detasseling scars, so it was like I wasn't getting in anyway.
That's great.
Yeah, but we ended up running. We talked to independents. We talked to Republicans. We talked to my mother, who's the Democrat, and my teachers who knew us, and we ended up winning that race by 14 percentage points.
Yeah,
and we kind of continued that trend. But we also never gave up on like who we were, where our principles were. We didn't compromise on the things that were important to us. I remember being a freshman on the Ways and Means Committee, and they wanted us to raise the fuel tax, and I'd just gotten in there, and they spent a lot of money on us, getting us in there being a Democrat, and I was like, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Luckily, the House Speaker was an Air Force guy at the time, so he gave me some grace on this. Like, I'm not voting for that. Like, Zach, you're going to vote for it. That's how this works. And I was like, yeah, it's not my district. That's not how I vote. He's like,
that's good.
Okay, well, hey, thanks for your time. You're off the Ways and Means Committee.
Is that right? You got
booted immediately.
Wow.
So within the first month, I was booted off Ways and Means. They passed the tax hike. In retrospect, probably a bad move.
Yeah.
But and then the speaker came to me. He's like, "You were always honest with me. You were always transparent. I can't be mad at you.
That's all you can.
You're
ask
back on
for.
the committee," and he put me back on after that. So it's a salute really to him. Being willing to say like, "Hey, I'm gonna recognize that people are going to be from different parts, but we're going to move forward as a team."
Well, you're going to have a lot of opportunity in Congress.
Hey,
I mean this is a common phrase, right? I mean, every day you're going to be faced with a tough decision.
That's right.
I'm pretty convinced, based on your background, that you're going to be pretty solid in that regard, though.
Here's what I like about it. We met with some of the other guys and gals who are running, all have incredible backgrounds. There is not a person right now on the Republican side in this freshman class who I wouldn't be like, this is a guy or a gal that I would jump in a foxhole with and fight the good fight with. They are sharp. A lot of them are military. As you've noted before, this is the first time we've had so many military members running. They have diverse backgrounds. I mean, we have Air Force guys and Navy guys. And we've got Marine women. We've got people, of all faiths, all creeds, all ethnicities running. But most importantly, I think what I like about having a military cadre who is willing to step up and run is that when you get in there, it's not just about winning on November 8th.
Right.
It's about governing on January 2023. And we have got to be able to say, there's the hill, here's our mission, let's go take the hill.
Totally right. Absolutely. So let me ask you about a couple of the issues I'm sure you're facing. I mean, clearly inflation is number one nationwide. I got to imagine in your district, people are feeling it badly.
We've got 6 kids now. We've got the 2 foster kids as well. And what I always say is Tesla doesn't make a minivan, and that means I'm filling up at the pump $100 a week. And they've got to get to daycare, they got to get to school. The challenge here is that, like a lot of working families, there is no relief in sight. And so, God bless that the gas came down a penny, but that's not what is going to make sure that I get to take my kids out for pizza or we're having ramen again.
No kidding.
These are the things that are impacting families across Iowa. It pulls my district upwards of 40%. But the challenge is you turn on the news and all we hear about is climate change. Like, hey, I can't get in an electric tractor, or I'm not going to charge my F-150 for 8 hours in the middle of winter so that I can do harvest time or take care of hogs.
So you don't think Joe Biden's thoughtful articulation of his gas is working in Iowa?
I don't know. He came out. He's like, yeah, ethanol works. We'll give you a 3-month extension for 1 year. I was like, thank you, Mr. President. That covers about 1% of what we need.
I mean, it's just amazing how out of touch these guys are, right?
And I really think that on some level, they're happy to see this happen. I mean, they won't say that publicly.
No, I agree.
On their version of, Pod Save America, they're secretly talking about before the mic comes on. He's like, this is the way we make America green.
No, it's true. I mean, look, we've said for forever, when your policy as articulated in your campaign is to shut down fossil fuels in America and basically just negate our production whatsoever. And that's what they told us.
Yeah.
What the hell do they think was going to happen?
Well, you're absolutely right. And it's not even fossil fuels. It's hey, if you do not follow a Green New Deal that is basically batteries only. I mean, Iowa, My district has more wind power than any other district in America right now.
Huh.
We have really bought into this. We are doing biofuels. We are doing, renewable energy. We've got a giant solar aspect, but it's not. And it's got to be an all of the above solution here. And this is where I say, 19 months ago, America was energy independent. I have flown enough missions over the Persian Gulf, and I have seen the giant traffic jam of fuel tankers being lined up that the U.S. military is providing protection to, so that we can get a fraction of that, while the rest of the world gets it at taxpayer costs, being shipped to China and all over Southeast Asia.
Totally.
We can do this here domestically, cleaner, better, quicker, and it's going to grow a lot of our economies from everywhere from, the shale lands in North and South Dakota to the cornfields of Iowa.
It's exactly right. We talked to a guy in Alberta, Canada, who was telling us about, they had the whole Keystone Pipeline all set up, and they shut that down on day one. And he's like, the craziest part about this, and I think about this because of the reception that you all get with ethanol in Iowa from these guys, is the reception of talking to an American or American-aligned interest in providing energy is like nothing, right? They're just like, forget it, we're not interested. Yes. And then you see this guy roll over to Saudi Arabia, bended knee, bumping fists. Right? Yep. I mean, as somebody who's over there, they may not have our best interests at heart.
Right.
But the one thing the Saudis do have is an EPA.
Everything, so it's regulated. I'm sure it's all clean oil. Right? Clean. Exactly. It's like,
no question, it has to be, right?
Exactly. Almost as good as Russian oil. I mean, that is filled with the tears of exactly. The Siberian prisoners. You know its quality.
So have you sent an invitation to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden on behalf of City Axne to come explain all of this?
So we ran a resolution on the floor of the Iowa Senate. It didn't entice Axne to come back and spend some time with us, but it did say, let's have a candid conversation about what would work. And we laid out a number of recommendations on this. First amongst them was an all of the above solution has to start first. Second is that we can't tax ourselves out through, the increase on fuel out of being able to do the things that are most important. You want to talk about a supply chain issue. I can literally watch the corn grow across the field, but if I'm not able to afford it by going to the grocery store because of the costs that are come from harvesting, from being able to drive it to granary, from being able to ship it all over the country. We are a net producer of food, and with the tragedy that's going on in Ukraine right now, we're going to be a net provider to the world, hopefully. This is one of the great things America does.
Right.
We literally will feed the world, but if we can't even get it to a port to ship out anywhere, it will rot in the bin. It will rot on the ship, and it will be a destabilizing force the world over.
So let's talk some smack about Axne around it. So obviously she's just like lockstep with the Biden administration on everything, right?
I mean, I think she breaks on certain things. She, for example, she said all Iowans are Christian crazies who hide behind the cross or whatever. I have not heard Biden say that yet. Now maybe she can convince him. I don't know.
It's a thoughtful nuance.
It's a thoughtful nuance.
Yeah.
It's a thoughtful nuance. I mean, she's made 40 Stock Act violations while she sits on the Financial Oversight Committee.
That's an amazing thing.
Making some money on the side. Everybody loves a hustle.
Oh, listen, Speaker Pelosi's got a side hustle. You might as well.
Exactly. Her and her husband. They can
follow
share
the
some
lead.
notes. Yeah, exactly.
Better keep him out of a car at 2 a.m. though. I'll tell you that much. No, listen, I think you got a hell of a good chance. And the good people of Iowa have been trending in our direction. You got the toughest district here, but it is, we went to that state fair. We had the time of our lives. I mean, if you're going to the state fair and you're just surrounding yourself, which I imagine you will.
We have 21 county fairs. So you think the state fair is great. You get out to Ringgold County State Fair, and it's fantastic. I was just there last weekend. The kids all dress up their cow as their favorite costume. So we had the bovine bumblebee was the winner. Nice. The kids were dressed as flowers, and there was their cow with wings and a stinger on the tail. I was like, those are some brave kids.
Yeah. If you got to pick something at the state fair to do and eat, what do you think that is?
Oh, my God. Well, first, everything.
Yeah, you got to.
We
tried everything.
Right, you got to pace yourself. That's the most difficult part.
You were a mess.
I was a mess. It's just too much food. I had a pork chop. I had some pork chop and had some hot habanero sauce on it. It was all over your face. I know.
It was disgusting.
Well, what can you do?
It was good though.
It was fantastic. Yeah.
But that butter cow is something else too.
But, what can you not make out of butter? That's actually should be the question. I've talked to my concrete guys.
So Governor Reynolds actually brought us butter-infused fried pork sandwiches.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the best thing I've ever had.
Yeah, she's amazing, right? Exactly. I was like, we export a lot of great things from Iowa. I was like, Governor, I never want to export you to the White House.
Yeah.
Can you just stay here and lead our state to greatness?
Yeah, seriously. She did a nice job for the State of the Union response, though.
She did. She was firing on all cylinders. But it's also it's a powerful story to be able to tell. She's worked well with people across the aisle. She's worked well with parents, with educators.
You guys have gotten a lot done.
Largest tax cut in Iowa's history. 3 times in the last 6 years. We have never gone over budget. We got kids back into school. We took the mask mandate off and made it optional. We've supported law enforcement. We had the strongest Back the Blue bill go forward on this. We've supported everything when I was chair of judiciary, fighting human trafficking. We were the first ones to set up and we're not a border state, but we set up a national ops center with state troopers in Iowa to be able to facilitate that. We're doing the new Gingrich model. Do the 70% of things that all Americans agree on and do it well.
Yeah, that's a great model to have. Yeah. So if you're going to pick a committee, I assume it's armed services, right? Is that number one?
I want to be able to serve my district, so
ag too.
I think ag is a big area for us. It's probably one of the most important things we can do. But also, people forget Iowa. It's the insurance capital of America.
Yeah.
And so
I suppose
you don't even think about it. But everything from crop insurance to corporate insurance, home insurance. Des Moines is a great place for it, and short of derechos, it's fairly earthquake proof. So.
There is some weather.
There's 9 months of winter. That from Minnesota, that can have a dampening effect.
It definitely has a dampening effect. Listen, we love it. I got 3 questions for you.
Yes, sir.
First, I want to commit. Next time we go out to Iowa, you gotta be with us because that's going to be a blast.
Done.
First question.
Yes, sir.
Your last meal on Earth. What would it be?
Well, we have highlighted it, but I would eat my way through the state fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I can extend myself for 10 days of life just by the amount of food I have to consume. And 2, the executioner gets off free because by the end of it, I will be dead. So it's really a 2-for-1 there. I'm going to go with everything at the state fair.
That's as good an answer as we've had. That's solid. Yeah. All right, so let's do this. Usually this question is if you never got into public service, what would you do with your life? Let's take the last 20 years and just go sky blue. If you hadn't had service in the military, you hadn't sort of been in government at all, no politics, blue sky, you can do anything in the world that you want to do, what would it be?
I would have asked my wife out a lot sooner. That would be the first goal. And
you'd just be a stay-at-home dad.
Just be a stay-at-home dad. I love our kids. We got 6 great kids. I love what service has gotten to do. So it still would have been something with service, and the military afforded me a lot of hardships, but it also let me see the entire world.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from that. It was probably the best way to help focus my perspective. So something that allows me the opportunity to be with my family, see the world. I'd do whatever it is. Teach for America. Go build trenches in Africa. Come back home, and anything but detasseling. I think that would. I'm glad I made a break there.
I really made an impact.
I only had to do it a couple of times with my, but yeah, exactly. I was like, yeah, all right.
He knows what he doesn't want to do. That's for sure. All right. So last question. We have a thrill of victory, agony of defeat question. Our view is that everybody's motivated by the one of 2 of those poles, right?
Yeah.
And the thrill of victory people are the consummate optimists charging up the hill, trying to get to the next thing. The agony of defeat person is like every victory that they've ever had, they enjoy for 1 second.
Yeah.
But every defeat that they've ever had, they wear it like a backpack, vowing never to repeat it, right? And that's what motivates them. So given those 2 polls, Zach Nunn, where do you find yourself?
It's a great question. So I'm always going to be the victory guy, right? I think it only pays to be an eternal optimist. You fight like hell to make it that way, and when it doesn't work out, then you try and find the next one. Now, this is saying it as a guy who has not been elected to Congress. And so
you could be
I turn it around on you guys, seriously. Now that you've seen this from the DC perspective, what is it that motivates you? How do you guys see this?
Well, I'm an agony of defeat guy.
All around.
I am.
You've got to have that.
Every accomplishment I've ever had, it's like
not good enough.
This is fine.
Yeah.
And then every setback, it doesn't even matter how small. It can't be like a big deep. It can be like even a small one. It's just like a slight that I carry around forever, and that's kind of what motivates me. I don't know, Duncan. You're definitely an agony defeat guy.
I'm definitely an agony defeat guy, but you can turn it into a positive.
Right.
It makes you work harder every day. Because you have something nagging in the back of your head that it's a chip on their shoulder. Maybe it's sort of a Midwest thing. It's like maybe people are expecting you to fail.
Yeah.
And you just can't let that be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And you'll have some of that when you get out here. Ashbrook, you're an agony guy. There's never been a definition of an agony guy more than this guy.
100% agony of defeat.
And there's no bright side on that either.
It's just agony. I just want more agony. I need it.
He's the kind of guy that makes something up bad just to motivate him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This will get me out of bed in the morning. Hammer, boom, on the hand. Yeah.
So,
fair.
Listen, this is one of the most important races that we have in America. And I'm not saying that because you're sitting here. It just is. If we're going to get to where we need to go, not in terms of majority, but also in terms of doing something with it, we got to win this race.
So I'm going to give the punchline here, right? I mean, every 4 years, people are looking at Iowa. We're praised by that. I like to think a lot of these guys who've been showing up for us and supporting us are here because of me. It's probably not. It's the state fair, and maybe they want to be president.
Charming as they are.
Charming as they are. Exactly, and we're glad to have them. More importantly, if we're going to win back a majority in Congress this January, we have to win seats like this. You have to be able to knock off a number of incumbents to be able to have a majority that is not just a majority, but is a functional, governable form of government. Section 1 of the Constitution places the responsibility on Congress to be the lead, the President, the Supreme Court in a supporting role, but the House specifically. If we want a House that is a majority, it means being able to turn seats like this that are in the realm of the possible. Polling came out and, it shows us at 43-43. We're excited about that.
So I've seen. So this is the absolute latest.
Right. Post Roe, post the
this
Dobbs
is hot
decision.
Breaking news that we've got here, and Iowa CD3, it's 43-43, and the most amazing part of that is you still got some work to do on your name ID.
Yeah, I mean we're a state senator. Like every state senator, you think everybody knows you. I knock on my neighbor's door. They're like, "Hey, thanks for bringing over the paper. Who are you?" I'm your neighbor. I happen to be your state senator. I've knocked on your door 6 other times. Yeah. Exactly.
But it's a good problem to have at this stage in the game. You got a lot of room to grow.
And I think that's the right thing here. She's got a ceiling where she's never going to be more popular than where she is right now.
Right.
We have 19 points and we haven't even been on air. She's been on air for 6 weeks here. It's a privilege to win your three-way primary by 70 roughly percent, and then you immediately have Cook, Sabato, and 538 all say it's now a lean Republican district, but it's 538, so I immediately discredit it. It's probably wrong.
All of it. You gotta take
probably all wrong. Anyway, exactly.
Right.
But then it's another thing to say, hey, when we start talking with folks who are already in our district, it's motivating to them to know that we're running. I think the best thing we got out of that poll was some guy who didn't even notice. He's like, I've heard Zach Nunn speak, and I'm a Democrat, but he's like the old school Reagan Republican. He'll talk to everybody, he'll listen to everybody, and he doesn't try and bullshit you.
Dude, that's about as high praise as you can get.
I'll take that as my epitaph.
In your district, if a Democrat's saying that is a hell of a high
I'm
praise.
Privileged by that. Right.
That's awesome. So before you go, what's the booze that you brought us here?
Hey, this is, and I know this is a bourbon broadcast.
Well, no, we're kind of in all of the above.
A little vodka sampler here from an Iowa distillery called Revelton. This is in my district. It's just south of us. So when you are from the state fair, it's about an hour south. We got my favorite here is the honey flavored whiskey that comes with it. So whiskey vodka sampler.
Are you gonna onesie that thing?
I'm gonna down it. Hey, I gotta take a flight later, so we are just gonna can't take it in the carry on.
Yeah, you may want to give us that on loan so you can take it back with
absolutely.
you.
We'll leave it for you here. But this is a great story of a distillery in the district that had been a winery, was going to shut down. It was going to close down the area, and a couple of Iowans decided that they were going to learn how to become distillers. They could have gone anywhere. And they came to Iowa, opened this thing up, saved not only the winery, but it ended up just growing, and it's now become a real targeted place throughout the state. Has brought a lot of great press to the community. Most importantly, they're just really good people.
Yeah.
They're your heart and soul Iowans, and they hired a lot of people who had been put out of work when the factories closed. So there are a number of folks who would have had no other opportunity in that community but to leave, and now they get to stay there and distill whiskey.
That's easy to go.
Not a bad second line. Right. That should be my choice. If I could do anything, I would distill whiskey. There you go.
Well, that sounds like an easy one to go to bat for. We will drink it all and order more.
Good call.
And it's worth noting that you brought a glass for us to drink it with that is Abraham Lincoln riding on a T-Rex with a M16 and a knife in his hand. That is
freedom, my friend.
That is freedom. I don't. This is a treasured glass.
Yeah, I had to to be able to. Smug needed one, but my 6-year-old daughter was like, "I want that one." So I got her this snow globe, and she chose the T-Rex with the M16. So we're training Second Amendments right from birth. Dinosaurs, guns, freedom. Abraham Lincoln.
What is not to love?
Done.
Zach Nunn, where can we find you? Where can we help you out?
Guys, please, thank you very much. It's not just about winning in Iowa. This is really about winning back a majority. It starts with races like this. Check us out at zachnunn.com. It's ZACHNUNN.com. Nunn for Congress, and follow us, on Twitter and Facebook. We would be very humbled.
Perfect. Zach Nunn, thanks for joining us.
Team, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks, Ruthless.